The more you study history, the more you come to realise that everybody was absolutely pissed all of the time. That people were imbibing the kind of quantities of alcohol that today would necessitate some kind of intervention just as a regular Tuesday. There's been a real shift in our attitudes towards alcohol, even recently, even within a generation. Like when I started working in pubs when I was 18, I remember distinctly that it was completely fine for office workers just to come in at lunchtime and just smash through 4 or 5 pints and then go back to work. Absolutely standard, nobody thought anything weird about that. And when you go back through history, you start to realise that everybody's absolutely twatted. And here are just a few people whose daily alcohol consumption has been recorded. So I'm going to tell them to you and you can let me know if you'd have kept up with them. George IV was not one of our better kings. In fact, by all accounts, he was a complete arsehole. But he did like to drink an awful lot. And this account of what he had for breakfast, was recorded by none other than the Duke of Wellington. Here we go. What do you think he had for his breakfast yesterday morning for an invalid? A pigeon and beefsteak pie, of which he ate 2 pigeons and 3 beefsteaks, 3 parts of a bottle of Moselle, a glass of dry champagne, 2 glasses of port, a glass of brandy. He'd taken laudanum the night before, again before his breakfast, again last night, and again this morning. That was the king. Absolutely wankered. Charles Dickens, when he was on tour around America a few months before he died, this was his daily consumption. Fresh cream and 2 tablespoons of rum at 7 in the morning. Rum in the morning, a sherry cobbler, sherry, sugar, slice and a slice of orange with a biscuit at midday, want to be civilised. A pint of champagne at 3 and an egg beaten into a glass of sherry before his evening performance. Hell's bells, Charlie boy. And I bet you knew this guy was coming. This is what Winston Churchill would drink in a day, including when we were at war. Several whiskey and sodas, less than an ounce of whiskey, around 11 a.m, tea time, bedtime, and occasionally one other during the evening. He never drank whiskey neat. Well, that's good because we need to have some standards around here. He would have an imperial pint of champagne or wine at 1 p.m. lunch, followed by a brandy, also likely an ounce. And then he'd polish all that off by another imperial pint of champagne or wine at dinner, followed by a brandy. This is what Elizabeth Bowles-Lyon, the late Queen's mum, the King's grandmother, used to drink on the daily. At noon, she would have a potent mix of 2 parts Dubonnet to 1 part gin. That's a hefty slug. Lunch, she'd have red wine. Evening, she'd have a martini. And then at dinner, she'd have 1 or 2 glasses of pink champagne. That is a lot of day drinking, Liz. But you don't have to be royal to be day drinking in the 60s and 70s. Everyone was at it. For example, this was a serious diet suggested in Sex and the Single Girl by Helen Gurley Brown in 1963. Have a good look at that. So for breakfast, 1 egg and a glass of white wine. For lunch, 2 eggs, any style, and 2 glasses of white wine. And then for dinner, a steak, and then you finish the bottle of white wine. I don't think you'd lose anything on this diet, apart from possibly your driving licence.